keep telling you guys of werewolves. Beware of the werewolves.
Werewolves!
No,
What word do you have there?
werewolves?
Welcome now to the Crank Revolution Podcast, your source for cycling shenanigans. Listen now to our hosts, the purveyors of pedals, as we teach you more about cycling every single episode. So sit right back, pop a cold one, and enjoy our show. We spent the last two episodes exploring the insides and the deep turmoils inside of TC and Mark.
Merc.
This time we're going to
Really?
dive deep into Greg.
Gerg.
What?
Well, no, for this first episode, we had a couple fun things we want to do. Now, we've talked about a lot of different things with cycling. We're going to do some crazy cycle sports. There are some weird ones out there.
Cycle ball.
Cycle ball.
I like the artistic, personally.
I like the tandem boat racing.
What? Tandem boat racing?
This is a thing. I found it.
All right, well, that's going to come up later in the episode. First thing we do, though, is let's dive into Greg a little bit. How you doing, Greg?
Feeling a little nervous right now.
You liking this new year?
You like
there's-
all eyes on you right now?
I'm not wearing any pads, and you guys are in a running position. I'm afraid you're literally going to dive into me.
Is that Greg from the Crank Revolution podcast?
At Greg from the Crank Revolution Podcast.
Search Instas. Yeah, hey, Greg at the Crank Revolution podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great today.
How was your childhood?
It was good. It was
Could
best
you
of
at least
times.
let him
It was
lay on the
worst
couch
of
when you
times.
ask him that question?
Well, we actually have a new couch here in the studio. So, Greg, would you like to take the seat? Do you feel like this is the most appropriate way for you to be interviewed?
I really just feel uncomfortable with everybody staring at me right now, I'll be honest.
And what motivates you? Is it fashion? Is it tech? Is it computers? Is it sci-fi? Or just you all of those things together?
I'm a total nerd. I mean, flat out. Like, you could find me basically opening day in any Marvel movie wanting to go see that.
Well, because this feels like beyond the cyclist. We know you love bikes, but yeah, what are some of the things you're really, really into?
Well, for me, the biggest thing actually would be breweries. I love beer. And I don't think I've ever really been shy about that around you guys.
But you don't have the waistline to support your beer habit.
Thankfully, I found a habit that helps with that. I get to hydrate and fuel at the same time. It's brilliant.
So what is it about beer that makes it such a big hobby for you?
Well, my 9 to 5 has me traveling quite a bit around the country, actually. And when you have to stay overnight at hotels for like a week or two straight, all the towns kind of start bleeding together after a while. And there's nothing to do. But every town's got a new
Every time's got a
brewery.
brewery, yeah.
But the one thing I'll say that I appreciate about your beer habit is you have actually brought me back beers from some of your rides. So
Sure.
that is always a good thing.
And that just was kind of a happy coincidence that bicycling and beer really do go together.
So top 3 beers from Greg at Crank Revolution Podcast.
In no particular order, Dangerous Man Brewing's Peanut Butter Porter is
Okay.
absolutely amazing. And that one's up from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. The next one I have is a rhubarb that we actually had on the podcast. It was a rhubarb beer from Microphone Brewery here in Chicago. My third favorite could really be almost any good hazy IPA. I love a hazy IPA. I like the light body and the citrus flavor to
Mhm.
it. And it's just like, I could drink this all
And
day.
they're
and
usually
be
pretty
very
high
happy.
point, too.
Oh, yeah. They're
Yeah.
always good.
Well, and the reason Greg wanted to get this in the podcast, obviously, is if you ever run into Greg out and about, you know what to buy him as a gift.
Also, if you see him on the Florida brewery, please just put him back up on that stool.
So is it all beer? What other hobbies and passions? I remember you geeking out over Battlestar and sci-fi and Marvel and...
Oh, I mean, if you want to talk Star Wars Legends, I could probably argue a lot about that. And if you want to talk Prime Directive with Star Trek, I could
wait,
do
Star Wars
that too.
Legends, that's not canon, I hear.
It's not canon.
See, well then.
Nerd alert.
Spoiler.
So let's pretend Greg's going to adult for a minute, though. What other hobbies do you have? Fire starting, Eagle Scout?
Camping. I absolutely just love being outside. Whenever the summertime rolls around, I want to be camping as often as I can. My goal every year is always to at least camp once a month, starting in May and going all the way till October if I can.
Mhm.
Rarely does it ever work out. There's nothing quite like waking up while camping and then just hearing the world wake up around you, even if it is like 4 a.m, 5 a.m. with the birds and the animals. But there's something very spiritual or serene to it that really feels
not when
great.
it's a hyena or a bear growl. Just saying.
Yeah, I
That's
hate
not my
those
favorite.
hyenas in a... Oh, wait.
Those Midwestern
Laughing
hyenas?
Wait,
Oh,
there's no hyenas in America. Unless you are sleeping at the zoo. Okay, yeah.
Well, whatever it was that was laughing at me in the middle of the night.
That was me.
But actually, something that a lot of people don't know about me is they would think that because you're a cyclist, you're going to love coffee. You're going to be passionate about it. You're going to know everything there is to know about coffee.
Yeah.
I'm a tea drinker.
Show me your pinky.
For me, like if I don't get 3 solid cuppas a day, I'm going to be a little bit annoyed. I got to have 3 cups of tea.
So what's that number 1 tea for you?
Earl Grey. Like any day.
Good
Earl
old
Grey hot. He's
black
going
tea.
full Star Trek.
Full
there.
Star Trek. I love the citrus of that one. It's so nice to wake up to
Is
it.
that Patrick Stewart? That's his.
Oh yeah, that's
Tea Earl Grey
that's-
hot.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, yeah, Star Trek.
Jean-Luc Picard. Coming soon to CBS.
Greg, what is like your first memory of you on a bicycle?
It actually was a tricycle, that little red
Ah.
tricycle that everybody like stereotypically
Little red
thinks.
flyer kinda,
Exactly.
Big steps on the back. Yeah.
Yep. I remember riding that around my little cul-de-sac on the sidewalk, and my sidewalk was so terrible. So every time I'd hit one of the little splits,
Mhm.
I'd have to stop
Dun, dun.
completely and almost have to lift the wheel up because as a kid, you've got no power
You
at
didn't
all.
have full suspension on your tricycle with a cobble gobbler?
No, I did not have that. Actually, what's kind of funny is from pre-kindergarten, like
Yeah,
that
that's like 3-4 year old.
3-4 years
typically, yeah.
old, I almost always had a bike growing up. My folks were always going around buying whatever bike they could find at a garage sale, just because kids grow out of bikes so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And it beat,
And they-
sitting inside playing duck hunt all the time.
Duck Hunt was
Did it?
great though. Yeah.
Well, they weren't against it yet. It wasn't until like years later they wanted me to ride more. But yeah, I had some old Schwinn's. I had some brands I can't remember, but there was always just a corner of the garage that had like 5 or 6 kids' bikes. So it'd just be like, as soon as I couldn't fit into my old shoes anymore, chances are my legs got longer,
On
and
the
then I
next
just
one.
grabbed the next
Wait,
bike.
what year was this?
Oh, this was like in 92. So I was riding my bike from a very young age with not just the neighborhood kids, but then friends I would meet from school because I had to go out to find friends because
Yeah.
there weren't always kids in my block. So it was riding around in the neighborhood's yards. It was riding through undeveloped forest or farmland that was near my
What
house.
city did you grow up in? What did you grow up
Hoffman Estates. Believe it or
Really?
not, yeah, believe it or
in?
not,
That rule back then.
there was farmland not that far
Yeah.
away from Barrington Road. We would just tear up everything we could, whether or not the bike was designed to do it. Always were out riding on that. Inevitably, there would be always an error or an issue that would happen, and my parents wouldn't repair the bike. They'd be like, all right, here's the
Get
next
out
one
of
on the
new one,
pile.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite memories as a kid, as an early bike issue, was trying to do some mountain biking on an old Schwinn Pixie I had. And it was a hard rubber tire on this thing. It wasn't pneumatic.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Oh, yeah. And I'm riding around using this thing as a mountain bike. And it was not light, even for a kid back
Twin
then.
Pixie, did they have the streamers and everything? Or
I removed them, but I did have
Okay.
the little plastic beads that would go up and down the spokes.
Oh,
Spokey
those are
dokes.
the greatest.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Spokey Dokes.
I hit a root or something like that, and suddenly the entire front tire just unfolds from the bike. And I was like,
yeah.
what do I do now? Because it was like a mile, it was probably 2 miles away from my house. But as a kid, it's just like, I'm going to need to camp out like 4 nights in order
Yeah,
to get
to
home.
get home.
get
It's a long way.
But yeah, as soon as I got home, I was afraid my
So wait,
parents
did you
would be
just ride on the rim then?
on the yeah, I did.
Yeah,
You could
just
have
ride
taken
the
the
rim,
train
yeah.
tracks home. Just
Yeah,
pop that
exactly.
up on there.
Well, that was
yeah.
the funny thing is I was always thinking about Back to the Future every time that happened with
Yeah.
that bike later on. It's like, oh, I could just do this. The irony is my folks actually tried to go around in order to repair the tire or find a new one. And surprisingly, no bike shop in the 90s was like, yeah, I don't have a hard rubber tire to
Yeah.
replace on that rim.
Well, I mean, it's ones where hard rubber tires, as we talked to, like historically, that was the first bike tires, and they always kind of every few years somebody would come out with a new one and be a
Yeah.
little better, but it still was never good.
Was it Dunlop that started with the first pneumatic? I think it was.
Possibly,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. Dunlop or Goodyear. I mean, who are two strong brands that no longer make bike tires but still make car tires.
So yeah, I was always just riding around on those bikes, and because that was the way you could always go out and have an adventure.
Well, I mean, you rolling with a crew of like 5-7 people back then, or
Yeah,
little
actually,
hoodlums tearing up the like TC with its hoodlum frame.
My hoodlum friends knocking around the neighborhood.
back then Power Rangers was just coming out to America. The kids were obsessed with it.
Tell me you were all in costume.
2 of the kids they had masks and everything, but we would like take plastic swords or nunchucks and we put it in our pockets or through our shirts.
Oh, nice.
So we could ride somewhere, and then suddenly we're fighting the monster, and we'd just be throwing these toys into the air. We're not actually fighting each other because we're fighting the monsters
Yeah,
that aren't there. And I just imagine as adults, it just looked like a bunch of kids that were just like freaking out in the middle of a field.
Wait,
but they were having fun, and that's
it was
where
great.
like. So with your riding around with your friends, kind of
Hoodlum
getting in
friends.
trouble, having fun, exploring. Is there anything that you did back then that, looking back on it as an adult now, you're like, oh, that was a bad idea. We should not have done that.
Yes. And unfortunately, it was right around the time that
Has
you
the
should.
statute of limitations passed?
Yes, but disappointingly, it was not like at the really young ages when you're impressionable and you don't know better. This was as in high school. I was riding around with a friend of mine. We were trying to get our way over to Woodfield Mall to, we wanted to get ourselves a cookie or walk this mall, hang out.
It's
the suburbs.
We're teens at that point?
Oh yeah,
so you're
I
a
was
teen and you're just going to go cause trouble at the mall like teens do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This trip, we were planning on casing it because we wanted to figure out what would be the
What
quickest
were you
way.
Robbing?
No, the plan was for us to ride through the mall.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ah.
Okay.
Because at Woodfield, they've got all those, not stairs, they just have
They got
ramps.
Yeah,
So it's like
almost all
you
of it.
could ride from one end of the mall to the other. I was like, that would be so much fun to do.
Which someone tried in an automobile this last year.
Oh, yeah. Thankfully, they can drive
Yeah.
anywhere. So my buddy and I are on our way there, and we decide, well, he doesn't have a bike, so he needs to use his rollerblades. Well, he can't go as fast as I can on
No.
my mountain bike, and I refuse to go as slow as he is on his rollerblades. So we took the Looney Tunes approach. We attached a rope to the seat post on my bike and had to go all the way
Had
back.
him water ski behind you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'd just pull him through, and he would, when there was space, he would then try to rollerblade next to me and we'd
Okay.
talk or whatever. And this was great. But if you've ever driven down, what was it, Gulf Road, I think, there's nothing but car dealerships
Yeah.
forever. And I'm taking a shortcut through a BMW or some dealership. I'm not thinking about my buddy behind me as I try to shoot the gap between some cars.
Uh-oh.
And I just suddenly hear him yell from behind me. And I look back and I just hear,
Oh.
and he slammed into the front of one of the vehicles,
To the front?
right into the front, because it was a demo. It was like right off of the sidewalk. They're trying to show it because we went right through there.
Yep.
For years later, probably even to this day, he would curse me over that story. I maintain that it wasn't my fault he put the rope around his waist. That was on
Yes.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's his
having the
fault.
rope around your waist limits your ability to let go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a little bit.
Does.
But yeah, that was probably the most ridiculous thing we did back in high school on bikes. We
Did
didn't
you
have
try
to-
the bicycle drive-through when you were in high school? Where you just ride a bicycle through a drive-through?
Yes, turns out
I really don't like that.
They don't.
they really get upset about
Especially if
it.
you're a youth. Like,
Ute?
A
there's,
Ute,
oof.
yes. They threatened to call the police on me like 3 or 4 times by going through Buona Beef, McDonald's, and Burger King.
Which
Fun
was all
fact.
in like,
Yeah, I was going to
five-
say, if you know Hoffman
30 seconds of
Estates,
each
those
other
were all
where
right
they
there. It was probably the same afternoon.
yeah. You
Um,
get turned out in one, you go to the other one. Yeah.
Exactly. All we wanted was some
Or
cheese
do you
fries.
just get off the bike and buy food? But no, that's way too much work.
Well, we didn't have
Yeah.
locks. What if someone stole our very expensive $200 bikes? We have no idea what money is worth yet.
Yeah.
Early days in high school and also junior high, I was doing family group rides. So
Mhm.
my family I'd go visit my dad, and we would just load up one of the cars with all of the bikes we had. We'd load up then all the family in another car. And we'd drive out somewhere and we'd do a 20-mile ride or whatever. And that was just kind of the Saturday activity. It was great. I remembered we would wake up in the morning, we'd get on the bikes, and we would ride out to like Einstein Bagel for breakfast, and then we'd ride back. And by the time I never understood why we did this, because by the time we came back, I was hungry again.
Yeah.
I was like, we could have just saved a lot of time and money if I just ate here instead of riding bikes. But it was great.
And so, Greg, who was Greg Berry in high school? Was he the star quarterback? Getting all the cheerleaders? Was he the art kid that ran a bunch that had a shaved head? I'm just describing my brother at that point. And so, yeah, who was Greg Berry in high school?
Doctor Who cosplay.
As a matter of fact,
Was it Doctor Who cosplay every day at school?
no, I was not a great athlete at all, except for the one year I picked up weight training, in which case then I was incredibly fit.
Okay.
In high school, I only ever did one sport, and that was for one season. That was water polo. And you can probably guess the only reason why I got into water polo was because I was the only person who was there for the tryouts who had giant calves and giant thighs. So part of the tryout was we had to hold a gallon of milk or a gallon of water above
Like a
our
diving
heads.
brick or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had to tread water, and I was doing that for 20 minutes. And they're like, wow, this kid's
You can do it.
great. And then all right, time for the sprint. And I couldn't sprint, but I could tread water like the best of them. They're like, yeah, no one can drown him because he's just all legs. So it was like, well, I rode my bike a lot. But yeah, aside from that one bout of doing weight training and also doing water polo, the rest of the time was spent playing PlayStation 2 and Magic the Gathering outside of the theater department while I wait for my friends to finish theater. So then we can go out back to someone's house and play more Magic the Gathering and PlayStation 2.
So how did you get, though, from that childhood experience, getting through high school, kind of playing D&D into being a cyclist?
Well, there's no D&D for the record, but
But Magic the Gathering.
yeah, exactly.
Totally different.
College Greg was the one who discovered how great beer is. Unfortunately, he also discovered how great beer is at making your waistline nice and tight in any
Yes.
pair of pants you own. So after college, I was trying to, I looked down at myself after getting out of the shower. I was like, my body is not nearly as, in my mind, I'm still, 17 years old
Oh,
doing
yeah,
weight
yeah.
training, benching 200 pounds like it's nothing. The rest of my body is just pale and flabby. It was just like, yeah, we got to fix this.
Somewhere in mid-college, I think that's everybody. What do they call it? Like the freshman 20 or something? Where
Freshman
one day you-
15?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You look down and you're like, oh, that wasn't good.
So I was 26, I think, at the time, and I wanted to start doing some weight loss. So I got my father's old bike out of the garage. It was some old GT hybrid, not V brakes, but cantilever brakes.
Candy brakes, yeah.
And
So that's like your original mountain bike kind of.
Yeah.
it was,
design,
it was perfect for it. And my dad was 6'4".
You're not 6'4".
As
You're
a matter
not
of
Paul
fact,
Bunyan. No.
as a matter of fact, I'm known for not being 6'4"
Yeah.
or being over 6 foot. According to most women in the dating world, I'm
you're
a
too
midget.
short.
I'm 5'11". But the only bike I had was my father's bike because bikes were still hella expensive in my mind.
And run what you brung.
Exactly. And so I put 300 miles on that bike
It's really not
that
bad.
season. And I
No.
was proud of that. I was going through all the neighborhoods and the forest preserves in our area, and it was great. Unfortunately, though, I knew nothing about bike fit.
Yeah.
But as an engineer, I understand that if you want maximum efficiency, you want to get the full stroke of a movement in order to maximize all the power you're going to get through.
I
So you
wish
lo-
we had
so
a
you
video
lock that knee
podcast.
out at the
I
bottom of the
locked
street. You
the
lock
knee-
that out and
So what by the time August, September rolled around, I lived on the third floor apartment building of a place without an elevator, and I was on crutches because I blew the knee completely
Oh,
out.
jeez.
On top of it, I was driving a stick shift at the time.
There
That's
you go, yeah.
perfect.
Oh, it was
no,
bad.
no rest for the weary.
Oh, and it was, I think it was my left leg, so I couldn't put it in the
clutch,
clutch,
yeah.
which just made it that much harder. After that, I was like, okay, apparently this bike doesn't fit. They're not one size fits all. Who knew?
Mhm. By owning a bike shop, you talk to a lot of people about riding bikes because that's kind of inherent with the job. And the best thing that I can do as a PSA right now is to say, hey, if riding bikes really hurts, go to your bike shop and talk to them about it. And preferably bring your bike. Because, yeah, if you had shown up to the shop with that bike, I'd be like, hey, I totally understand what you're doing. However, I can just see that your knee is locking out and it's going to cause problems. So you can avoid a lot of these really major issues that can come from riding a bike that does not fit you at all by just having someone else take a look at you who's trained, who's been doing it for years. So
Yeah.
I
bring
can
your bike-
attest because, he saw me on a frame
And yeah,
for somebody
so-
6'3", 6'4", same thing. Yeah.
Your like, and your story as you're riding a bike that's far too big for you, it's very common, in this
common,
room.
yeah.
So
Or
And-
too small.
And it wasn't just like the seat was too high.
Mhm.
If I was standing over the top tube,
Yeah,
I
you-
had to be on my
I see
my
soprano.
tippy toes.
Hey!
Hey there, who wants to ride a bike? It was right up in there.
I was covering Def Leppard for a while.
Yeah. So yeah, I figured I should probably go and get myself a proper bike. I started looking at different shops, but the bikes I was looking at were expensive. Part of the push that made me want to start cycling was that my college sweetheart had been starting to complain about a little bit of the weight gain, going back to that love of beer. Unfortunately, though, as I was saving up to buy the engagement ring for her, we kind of, she left. As terrible as it is to say. But the bright side that came out of it was I finally just looked myself in the mirror and was like, all right, we're going to get yourself in shape.
Mhm.
We're going to get you in fighting form again.
So you're not going to buy an engagement ring, is what you're saying?
No, that would not
Okay.
help lower my
Ah.
weight. That probably
Yes, it
wouldn't have
would
made
not
a
help.
difference
Yeah.
at all.
Yes.
It's like, I want to name this star after you and I'm going to lose weight. It's like, that's how effective it'd be. So I took that money that I'd been saving up to buy her a ring, and I actually went to Bike Connection here in Schaumburg.
Mhm.
And I paid way too much for the bike. I had no idea what I wanted. I wanted a bike that did everything. And I got a
Yeah.
Fuji Tread. It was an aluminum bike, big tires on
It
there.
was
Great
an early gravel
clearance.
bike.
Yeah,
And yeah,
great
for a bike that
clearance,
does
yeah.
pretty much everything in Illinois. Yeah, it's great.
It was, but it wasn't until
20
I
plus pounds, 22, 23. Yeah.
23 pounds.
It's a bike that does almost everything. And it's the first bike. We don't worry about the weight.
Well,
That's
I
fair.
had to scoop you up a few times, I remember, on Bartlett.
And yeah, it
You
wasn't
did
until
have I think you had a kickstand on that bike, if I remember
I
correctly.
did.
Oh!
I found you guys.
Not shaming, but just calling it out.
That was a big bike. Yeah.
It was a big bike. But yeah, I found you guys at Performance because I was trying to find people to ride with because I
Which-
thought I was fast.
Was a stone's throw away from Bike Connection. I mean,
But yeah, I started riding with you guys, and that's when I discovered, you know what else is a key to getting faster or wanting to get in shape? Quit smoking.
Yeah, that's a
oh,
big
so
one.
you were smoking this whole time?
Oh yeah, no, I was smoking menthols pretty regularly.
Well, when
at
do you
that time.
start though? What age?
My grandmother doesn't listen to this. 18.
Okay, so a long time. Yeah.
So yeah, I had like 10 years of nicotine and menthol and all that stuff in my body. So I was in a
I
really
remember the
bad shape.
sound though. I'd always be riding ahead of you, and that's a scary thing for me to say. Is I was ahead of you, and just to
Yeah.
listen back like a train and be like, "Oh, yep, that's lung butter. I hear him back there."
That's kind of what it sounded like every once in a while once my heart rate got up. It was disgusting. I remember seeing people actually like move in revulsion to these sounds as I was coughing.
I did enjoy like looking back and like, hey Greg, how you oh, he's lighting a cigarette right now. Okay, that's what's going on right now. It's not going to help him, but okay.
Yeah.
It's not performance enhancing like James Bond, or no?
I'd always heard that nicotine was a stimulant. It should work. But yeah, at that point, I hadn't realized that all
I just
was
thought you were like going for the classic cycling aesthetic of like
Yes.
just riding with a cigarette hanging out of your mouth as you're riding the 1927 Tour de France. Like that's what I was picturing.
That was around the time actually that I bought my BMC. So I got myself a proper road bike.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I remember
I-
when Greg got fast.
Oh my God. I still have that bike and I still look at it like that thing is pretty.
You left the tread, and all of a
I-
sudden I'm like, "Oh, there's Greg," and I'm looking
Well,
forward.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you make that like 4 or 5 pound bike difference, where
Oh, it's huge.
just so much lighter. It's so, and then it's going from a gravel bike to a dedicated road bike, something that it does road. It does not.
It doesn't do-
gravel. It doesn't do off road. It does road. That's all it does. You have this just very much freedom, and also the gearing's better. We can go. I can nerd out.
We
all
could
day
nerd out
long.
over that.
I believe you have a name for that bike.
I named that bike Bulma.
Bulma.
What is a Balma?
Bulma is a
It's a
character for
Dragon
Dragon
Ball
Ball
Z
Z with
reference.
blue hair.
Oh,
knew it.
see,
Yeah.
you kids, yeah.
Oh yeah,
And
the
is-
the
yeah.
nerdiness never left.
Yeah, that bike has a very nice blue paint.
It is some type of electric blue, and
Yeah.
in bright sunlight or in an overcast day, that
Mhm.
blue just always
It
looks sharp.
pops.
And since then, I got the nickname Blue.
Well, the other thing I'd say though is I saw a big change in you because besides scooping up on the back, the excitement level and your passion and how much you kept going at it after you got that BMC was crazy. It's like you started riding faster and faster and faster. Next time I'm looking up, I'm like, oh yeah, he's at the next light. I don't have to look for him anymore. He's flying.
Yeah, and it was such a great feeling of
Yeah.
knowing that I've got this bike. I know that it's designed to go fast, and there's nothing I wanted to do more than make that thing go fast.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, when they say, how do I get faster? The answer is yes, your legs are the engine, but a 4 or 5 pound bike difference makes a huge difference.
Huge.
So you
Well,
can buy some step
And also,
up in
I
excitement.
mean, like one of the things that I've always pushed to is that, when you have some more skin in the game, when you invested another, $1,000 or more into a new bike, you want to go ride that. You want to
Yeah.
go earn that money.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be riding more. And so, yeah, that'll make you a lot faster.
And I bought that bike as a promise to myself saying, you're going to pay this thing off in a year because you're not going to smoke anymore.
Good.
Okay, yeah.
I still
That's a
smoked that year, unfortunately. But to what both of you are saying, that 5 pounds made a huge difference in there.
Did that elevate, your involvement in the cycling world?
I suddenly thought I was greased lightning. I could
You
do
were.
no wrong with this thing. And it wasn't until I think it was middle of winter where Mike came up to me and goes, "Hey, Greg, have you ever ridden gravel before?" I was like,
Oh, Mike
Yeah.
Nichols
Good old Mike
recruiting
Nichols.
everybody.
he
Sponsored
loves
rider.
his gravel. And he goes, "Yeah, I want to do this event. It's called the Dirty Kansas." I was like, "Oh, okay.
That's a big one.
What is it?" He goes, "Oh, it's out in Kansas." I was like, "I've never gone out of state really for a bike ride other than to Wisconsin. Tell me about it." It's 200 miles with 10,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah.
You have 23 hours to complete. And I was like, yeah, this sounds stupid. I'll sign up for this.
That wouldn't be the BMC. You might have gotten away with that on the tread, though. Just saying.
But I still had the tread.
Ooh.
Yep.
I was starting to grow out the stable of bicycles at that time. With training for DK, I finally quit smoking. That was
Good.
the
Yeah.
big motivator for me. I was following Mike at different events around the country. We did the Epic 150, 80 miles, long story. We went up to Minnesota. We did Almanzo, which is gone now. We went to, I think, probably 2 more. We did Race the Wabash out in Indiana. We did a bunch of different gravel rides as part of our training for
Sounds
this.
like a great year.
Sure, yeah.
And in hindsight, and I did challenge Mike years later. I was like, "You got me into this so that way you could do this." Marcus, "Oh yeah, you totally helped split all the costs.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
great." I was like, "Well,
split the
whatever.
cost
You
of
did the
hotel
driving."
rooms and gas. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier.
For once, instead of just traveling for work, I was traveling for leisure, which I never could afford before. So it was
But
great.
also, is it really leisure if you're riding a bike 200 miles?
Yes. I think it is. No, yeah.
I mean, I asked
Parts?
this question knowing fully well that yes, that's my answer as well. But I'm trying to understand who Greg is.
So that was the thing that really kind of shot me out to make me do more of these events around the country. And now I'm taking people within our club to different events around the country to help push them out of their comfort zone so they can find new challenges. It's really been quite the journey from where I started 5 or so years ago. But actually, thanks to you guys as well, I finally actually got to do my first bike overnight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all did. It was fun.
Way back then, 5 years ago, like I said, I wanted to do a bike overnight. I wanted to go camping on my bike, wanted to do touring. When we went to Washington, just an awesome time, and realizing how outside of my element I was, not understanding anything that we were trying to do. I'm going, we need a place to camp. No, we can sleep
We can
anywhere,
sleep
man.
right there.
Chill,
we can sleep
buddy.
right there. We can sleep right there.
And
we
then
can sleep right there.
exactly.
You can sleep right there. You
Um,
can sleep right there.
And riding in the dark on Lopez Island, of
Yeah,
just
Lopez
terrifying how the world just disappears.
Well,
into
we
the
almost had a
darkness.
cuddle moment though, because after TC disappeared, it was pitch black. I couldn't see your face, but hearing
'Cause
your
I
voice.
brought
Keep
a
telling you guys,
headlight.
werewolves. Beware
Werewolves?
of the werewolves.
Werewolves.
They're
What are you
werewolves.
saying?
Rad,
No,
Ralph.
What word do you have there?
Werewolves?
Wolves?
Wolves.
Do you think that's what it's
WOOVE?
called?
Wolf?
Wolves.
Yeah, wolf.
Wolves.
Wolves.
It's a wolf.
Wolf. Wolf.
And also,
If we ever want to stump him, just bring a wolf.
Werewolves.
Wolves. Wolves. What
there
are
are
we chased by?
there's no werewolves in the Pacific Northwest because Bigfoot
No.
ate them all.
Yeah, Sasquatch.
Yeah, Sasquatch.
Nope. All right. Well, we love your wolves, Mark. Greg, what were some of the moments that stuck out to you from Bike Trip?
I watched TC fall asleep on a ferry while Jeremy was running around all over reenacting Titanic.
Yes,
I'm on top
yes.
of the world.
At like in the pitch black on the front of the ferry, yeah.
Yeah, as we're landing on an island that we've never been to, we have no
Yeah.
plan of where we're going to sleep at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
and
was
then
fun.
there
And
was
only-
the moment that Greg and I were 10 feet away, and Greg, are you there, buddy? Are you there?
Because TC was the only one with lights.
yeah,
Because I'm
and
the
he
only one who
disappeared.
planned ahead because I knew we were going to need
Yeah.
lights for a trip.
Well, he disappeared.
He went all the way to the
I
he
was
went,
on a 17-pound racing bike. So.
Yes. But just knowing that you were 10 feet away and like, Greg, will you stand closer to me? And we'll just like forge through the darkness together.
literally had no idea where each other was. Like I was so afraid suddenly my foot was going to go through your spokes or something or into your bike. Like, ah.
So cheers to you, my friend. You have
Thank you,
become
buddy.
one hell of a cyclist.
Thank you both. You've been a great influence and a horrible one at the same time.
Greg, thanks for sharing your cycling story with us. If you'd like to meet and ride with Greg, come out to Crank Revolution Bike Shop on Wednesday nights, starting in late March. Now let's cut over to crazy cycling sports. Merc, what do you got?
Hey, have you guys heard of Rodball?
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 I-
Rodball.
yeah.
Like Radball?
No.
It really close
I mean,
to
it would
Radball.
be spelled Radball,
Yeah.
but it's German, so it's Rodball.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
in American terms, it's Radball.
No,
Rad.
what is this rad ball?
It's basically soccer on bicycles.
Psycho Ball.
Psycho ball.
Wait, so you kick it?
Nope.
You headbutt it?
Nope.
No.
Yet another
Is there a
answer.
lacrosse stick or
keep
something?
trying.
or-
How do you propel the ball down the court?
Chest bump.
No.
You carry it like a
No.
football
No
player in your
hands.
arms.
No feet are allowed.
Yep.
So
I
you
have no clue.
use your wheels.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, how big is this ball?
It is about what
Like a
TC's
melon,
showing.
like a melon size.
For
like a
podcast,
melon.
yeah, like a cantaloupe.
Yeah, cantaloupe size.
It's the
So-
size of what he's doing in front of him that we all can
Yeah,
see.
So
It's great
it
radio.
is a solid ball.
Wait,
It's
so how do you propel it forward though?
with your
with
wheels.
your wheel.
So you hit it, and then your wheel will want to climb the ball.
No,
Well,
you
that's
got to
if you crash into it.
exactly.
You twist.
So wait, you have to flick it with your front
You're saying you
wheel,
play
or-
foosball with your front wheel.
That's a great way
Yeah.
of yes. That is
Wow.
perfect.
Wait, so someone decided that track stands weren't complicated enough. We
Now
have to make a
spin it.
sport
I mean,
based off of
the
this.
sport's been around about almost 100 years, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's new then.
And the bikes are very differently shaped.
Is it like a track bike then? You're dealing with a single speed fixed
Yeah,
gear?
that's the-
yes,
the
single
only-
speed.
yeah, that's the only thing.
that's consistent there.
I'm sorry. All I can think about is like 110 years ago, all of humanity sat down. It's like we have baseball, or we have cycle ball? What do you guys want to watch?
Well, there can't be cables though, because if you go to strike the ball, then you have to have your handlebar sideways and then flick it as hard as you
Right.
can. and knock it to a
No
friend.
brakes on the bike.
Wow. I mean, can you hit it like 3 feet, 5 feet? Are there people that can actually send
I mean,
it?
so it's a 3-dimensional sport. So there's people going like upper 90s, putting that ball high up in the corner of the net.
I'm glad it's a 3-dimensional sport though in a 3-dimensional world. But
I
no,
hate
I
when
always assume that
I'm trying to picture, though.
as you're propelling a ball around the court, it would logically be very flat.
Well, so if it's the size of a cantaloupe though, it can't be as heavy as a cantaloupe. Is it like the density of a tennis ball?
1.2 pounds is what the
so it's
the
not-
ball is.
So what's the
Not all
nearest
that
ball,
light.
sporting ball, other people would know?
1.2 pounds would
So-
be.
Not a
It's-
bowling ball.
this is like
I guess like a basketball.
basketball?
Yeah, I would say
Well,
basketball.
yeah, smaller than basketball, about the same weight.
Now it is solid because it is filled with horsehair.
Why
naturally.
horsehair?
What?
Yeah,
That's the best hair for filling cycle balls with, obviously.
The guy who created
Obviously.
the sport had a hairdresser that did horses. It's obvious. Anyhow.
Well, no, they just had a bunch of horses that just got haircuts. Like, oh, what am I going to do with all this hair? I know. I'll invent a new sport to use it.
just like artist brushes. So how far can you hit this though? I mean, I'm trying to imagine if I hit a basketball with my front wheel, first of all, I'm going to crash, but can you actually like get it 10 yards? Can you go 30
Well,
feet?
I mean,
Yeah, people can shoot it pretty hard.
the field is 46 by 36 feet. So
46.
people have made it from 46
And
feet.
then
And
So-
then
Well, how
so
many people are on the course?
two
on
per team. So
per team,
there's
so-
4.
So you said though that there are some people that can actually get that ball way up in the air to go up. So is there a
Yeah,
goalie?
so there's the 2-on-2.
Well, there is a goalie.
Okay,
so
yeah.
yes,
Not
there
the
is
traditional.
not a traditional goalie, but there is a goalie, so to say, and then there's also a forward, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah, so cycle ball is a very different sport. Yeah, you're twisting that front wheel, ejecting the ball. The handlebars on the cycle ball bike are straight vertical and very tall.
If you take
for leverage, so you can
Yeah.
just
Correct,
whip it
yeah.
with your chest.
So
Yeah.
if you take a typical road bike drop handlebar, you extend them out and put them facing up. That's that's basically
And
what
put
the
'em up
handlebars.
like 2 feet.
More power.
2
Like
feet,
2
yeah.
feet long. It's
So,
a very long
so the
lever.
drops are now way above where
Correct.
they normally would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the frame of the bike is set where actually your saddle is really kind of on this, from the top tube, this just straight back beam that's following along the top tube, and that's where the saddle is. That's right above the rear wheel. Google it. That's going to be the easiest way because it's such a non-standard bike shape that we're working with here.
You got to think of what they're trying to do
Yeah,
with
so
it.
getting that weight straight stacked over the rear wheel gives you really nice control and balance.
that front
and
round,
one
yeah.
wheel, one wheel control.
So you need to be able to do track stands, wheelies. And
BMX skills of whipping that front
Mhm.
bar
Yeah.
around would definitely help
Yep.
too.
Yeah,
Now,
bar
how
spins for
competitive
days.
is this? Are we talking? Is it a 10-minute match, a 30-minute? No.
What it is, they have 2 periods, 7 minutes each.
And these are the official UCI
So
rules.
yeah,
And
max
this is
scoring
a-
wins.
Now, yeah,
You have
and the-
world champions wearing world champion stripes in this sport. So this is a sport that is huge in, well, huge is a strong word to say, I think. The Germanic countries.
Yeah,
So
like
Germany,
Germany,
Belgium, Swiss,
right.
Austrians.
and of course Japan.
in Japan, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not very popular anywhere else in the world.
We got to bring it back. Let's do it, Greg.
why not? I
You
could-
and
I mean,
TC
I've been
versus
wanting to
me
build
and
a
Mark.
Actually, did we
bike.
try and find a USA Cycle Ball Federation?
Well, actually, clear out the shop. It's roughly the
About that
size.
size.
Well, so I mean, is it in the Olympics?
Cycle
No.
ball?
No.
No,
Rad
but there
ball,
is-
rod ball.
There is
Rod
a
ball
world
cycle ball.
championship though.
Yeah.
Because it is under the UCI regulation.
So unlike tandems, which aren't UCI, this is.
Yes.
How big is a goal then? Because if you have someone
That's
on
true.
a bike,
How big
do you-
is this goal?
Yeah.
The goal side is 6.5 foot by 6.5 foot.
Oh, so it's big actually.
Yeah.
That's bigger than a hockey goal by far.
Yes.
Well,
But you've got guys.
but it's
on
not a
top of
soccer
bikes
goal
that
that's
are
20
low
feet
top.
either.
And like TC side though, you have guy that's on top of a bike. So you have the bike and
The height.
the height of the player.
Well, hold on. Maybe I missed this. Is the bike single speed or is it a fixie? So that way you can pedal backwards. If you're in goal, like you can move backward. You have to steer
The
the,
ones
bike
that
around.
I've seen were fixed gear.
Correct.
So
but
you
a
could
very
pedal
low
back or
ratio,
forth.
very like a near 1-to-1 ratio. So there's a lot of
Precise.
control. Not a high, very low top speed, but you don't have that far to go. High acceleration though.
Wow.
Wow, interesting.
Yep.
I gotta watch this.
Join
Yes,
us
you
in
do.
2020 as we bring back
No,
cycleball.
I'm watching
Join
this
us again in
wheel
fi-
spin in Greg's
Well,
mind
it's
right
they're
now.
also fairly small wheels too. They're not full 700.
Yeah, they're not full 700.
So,
Right,
so
like
that 1-to-1
650?
ratio is even relative to most of us who are used to riding 1-to-1. it's actually a lower gear because of gear inch.
Well, if anyone then wants to make a team and challenge us at Crank Revolution, feel free to do so. We will be the Crank Revolution Werewolves.
Thank you,
But
Mark.
moving on, we have more sports that are crazy. What would be the next crazy cycle sport?
I think the easiest one to continue along with would be kind of what we'll say is the American equivalent, bike polo.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So a lot of the same similarities with cycle ball actually translate into bike polo. Bike polo, however, is not a UCI recognized event.
Wait, why
Is that
not?
because you have a hammer and you can just smash other people?
Possibly.
Well, you have a mallet.
Well, same difference.
It's not a hammer.
Well, so you're allowed to have...
as long as you don't use the claw side first. I mean, that would be illegal,
So
obviously.
wait, do you have a croquet club?
No, you have a bike polo mallet. Like polo, you ride on horses
Marco.
with a mallet. Bike polo is similar kind of a setup, except it's 3-on-3 typically. There's a lot of
Variety.
varieties of bike polo in this world. Hard court that I've watched and played, 3-on-3, you're using hockey goals,
So what street hockey type
street
of
hockey
goals?
goals, yeah. And then you have the ball, which is about a like lacrosse ball. I forget exactly what
I thought it was more like a street hockey ball.
Yeah,
So,
street hockey
yeah,
ball, yeah.
Like a tennis ball or
little
maybe
tennis
a little
ball
bit
size,
bigger.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then you have your mallet, which is about, I don't know, say 4 feet tall, and it's a plastic head. It's
So is it
squared
like the
off on
crochet
head.
size, or is it
Croquet.
Croquet.
The head would be similar to like a croquet mallet size, but the pole would be a little bit longer
Obviously, because you're
on top of the bike.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Can I be the first one to say, though, having mallets that go down and swung down by your spoke seems like a bad idea?
Yeah, so you should probably have a lot of
I
spokes.
may or may not have stuck things through spokes and exploded wheels before.
Yep.
I did not witness you drop a tripod through wheels before.
People got to film you.
You can't film.
But is that a real risk, though, then, with,
Absolutely, yeah.
with bike polo?
Yeah, so
Well,
yeah.
I mean, think about you have a ball that was been struck by this mallet going at
High
do you say?
speed.
High
Decent
speed.
speeds, yeah.
Yeah.
So in cycle ball, we had a ball that was the size of a basketball with horsehair in it. What
Well,
is this
smaller,
ball
we said,
made
right?
of?
So like street hockey ball is really the
So it's
most
hard
common use.
plastic, or rubber
ball,
or
yeah.
something
correct.
like that. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that with bike polo is you got a lot of people that will be running wheel covers. So these are typically corrugated plastic covers that people cut to the size of their wheel. Wheel size is pretty variable. A lot of folks are running 26, a little bit smaller, more compact wheel. For the players that are riding fixed gear, that's pretty common. And so it just gets you that nice smaller wheel, good amount of control, and a tighter spoke pattern, therefore, that makes it harder for the ball to be shot through the wheel. Because that's one of the most common ways of scoring in this sport is shooting the
through
ball
the wheel.
Right.
through the wheel.
Well, then why do they allow it to be blocked? That seems like that would be a good skill contest.
It makes it a better skill contest because it's
That's where
harder
you
to
gotta go,
score.
like, between...
So is there a rule on the number of spokes you can have then?
It not being a UCI regulated sport, it's
Right.
hard for us to say the rules. So we could look at like North American Hard Court. That's the most common body that I know of because I used to know the president of North American Hard Court. But it's not as regulated as a lot of other sports in the cycling
Because
world.
I feel like all I would do is find a whole bunch of old Rubbermaid containers, chop them up, and fill every void that exists on my bike through the frame and everything.
mean, you
Because there is
could.
still there's a rule with the
Oh,
frame.
yeah.
The frame
The frame's
still
gotta be
has to
open.
be open and a typical bike frame.
Oh, now I'm suddenly trying to imagine like a baseball just hitting my knee while
But
I'm on a bike. Like, oh, that would hurt.
I mean, yeah, there's people wearing shin guards. There's a lot of like old hockey equipment that's seen out on the court. It's a very different sport. There is that same kind of foot down rule. Each tournament I've seen does it differently at times. Bike polo is just generally a big party as I've been a part of it. Yeah, it's fun.
I do have to laugh though with between the UCI rules of cycle ball and bike polo. Bike polo requires a helmet.
Yes,
Cycle ball does not.
correct.
yeah, I'm imagining you want a lacrosse helmet because you could slap that ball or just suddenly get a mallet to your jaw by quote unquote accident. Sorry, ref, that's not a penalty.
Well, if you're trying to block the goal, what I'm thinking about, though, the spoke count just became paramount. You're leaving a big spot to score on. So in this particular case, though, let's cut over to TC real quick and talk about spoke count.
Hey everybody, TC here, and today we're going to talk about spoke count. To my knowledge, we did talk about spoke count once before, and that was lower spoke counts, lighter weight wheels. Now we're going the opposite direction to a higher spoke count. In the world of bike polo, it's not uncommon to see 48 spoke wheels. So that is very, very high spoke count. They're a pain to build because there's a lot of spokes doing a lot of things. The focus here is to create a very strong wheel that you can have a mallet or a ball go into and it won't break the wheel. And also that it's very difficult for the ball to actually be shot fully through the wheel. So the wheel can block the ball and keep your team in the lead for that sport. So high spoke count, they're a pain to build. They're very exceptionally strong wheels. And when you're running the 26-inch wheel with 48 spokes, it's a very, very tight pattern. It's really difficult to get anything through that. And that's from the mechanic's mouth.
Oh, yeah. Those spoke counts are going to matter if you've got that kind of like hockey street ball trying to fly through those.
Absolutely.
Wow, that actually sounds fun. I mean, I've never seen a pickup game of this, though, at like my local tennis court.
And that's where they would be. Not too common out in the suburbs here, but yeah, in Chicago, last I was part of the Chicago bike scene, Garfield Park was a big spot for bike polo.
So what's the entry, though? It doesn't seem to be a very expensive sport. Like, for example, when you say polo, a lot of people haven't seen polo because they don't have an area with horses in a fluent
Well,
community.
you need to drop at least $20,000 just for the horse. At least $20,000.
Well, you have to get a
Then you
sired
have
pedigree
stable
bike,
and-
too. It has to be handcrafted from the steel of a good lineage, yeah.
Bike polo exists, and it's very much a run what you brung kind of at the outset. So you have anybody on every bike that you can imagine starting the sport. Once people get more and more into it, then you start seeing bike polo specific bikes with a tweaked geometry, very short wheelbase, very kind of vertically stacked, a lot of control, a lot of stabilization there. Sometimes you have where folks will be shooting with their right hand, so the bar will be offset, and the handlebar will just be mostly really on the left side with a double lever trigger.
Oh, okay,
So that you would activate
Dominant hand.
both brakes with the left hand. Some people I've seen run where they have two levers on that side, so they can hit front brake or rear brake to do some endo and stoppy work.
Wow.
While shooting with the right hand.
I feel like you'd be pretty limited, though, if you couldn't actually strike with both arms. You have to be able to swing it around.
It is, but a lot of it is you're blocking and body positioning, and you're reaching over if you're using that, because it's having the bike set. It's difficult to shoot with both, but also it's the bar gets in the way on that non-dominant side.
Oh, damn.
So
But-
it's a lot of kind of weird, nuanced stuff that does exist here.
TC did bring up a good point that I forgot, is that the bike in bike polo does require brakes. There has to be a braking system on the bike.
So is this a flat bar on the front? Or,
Yes.
So I'm just imagining you've got a flat bar handlebar. It literally just extends out on your, I'm right hand dominated, so on the right side, and then just stops into a little rubber grip for mountain biking, and that's what you have to
Yeah,
steer
so
with.
see, basically on the right-hand side, for a lot of folks I know, you're talking a cut-down short bar, so it's got little more than a grip, really. So it's if you're not actively using your mallet and shooting, it's quick to the bar, but then it opens up pretty easily.
Please tell me these bikes have like awesome names, because if you ever go to a horse event, every horse has an epic name.
I mean, I'll say that, yeah, most polo players I know have a name for their bike, but the biggest brand I know in making bike polo specific bikes, and this will date me if folks are really active in this and I'm not correct anymore, Fleet Velo, the Joust, that was the bike. And this was circa 2013 that I was really like around this culture a lot. So
Armac or
this
Clay?
is played like in a street hockey rink. So you got boards, so yeah, the ball's not flying, you got to go chase it for a half hour.
Merc, we were talking, and you had me look something up. And what was amazing is I had no idea there's like synchronized sports for bikes, too.
Artistic. Just those people that ride artistic, honestly, if you watch Peter Sagan with his wheelies, they go beyond what he does.
Oh, it's
Way
insane.
beyond.
And they climb up the bike. Like you see somebody climb up into a semi-trailer. They're sitting there on their bike. They pop it up on the rear wheel. And all of a sudden, they're like over the handlebar sitting on the head tube.
Yep.
Well, I've
And
seen
there's like 4 of them spinning in a gymnasium.
Well, I saw a video where they had pegs on the front and rear.
Yeah.
And as they're riding around, they actually switched somehow over. So the handlebars are now the pegs for the front tire, and they're still pedaling, but the saddle is on the other side away from them.
Yeah, they can do anything.
I
It's
think that
weird.
was a lucid dream.
It's funny because at least the videos I've seen of it, though, they take place in gymnasiums. There's a judge, whatever. Sometimes you have single person who does like an artistic thing similar to gymnastics or ice skating. But I've also seen ones where there's 2 or 3 people in a synchronous spinning, and they're literally doing 360 pirouettes on their rear wheel, then sitting on their head tube, then the bike's like upside down. I don't know what's happening.
Actually, if some NBA games, you can actually see that as like the halftime show of entertainment where someone will ride around on the court doing
That's
these tricks.
insane.
Yeah, so they do have they have the single women, the single men, double women, pair open, and then they also have what you were saying, the 4 team, and they also have a 6 team.
Like-
And they do this on the cycle ball court. So the 6 team's the one that blows my mind because that's 6 riders
6 riders on a
on a
bike.
bike.
But
In
it's
a
like
very
6
tight
riders
area.
riding a bike.
Wait, a single bike or
doing
6
a
bikes?
handstand on the handlebars.
Yeah,
you
6
know.
bikes, 6 different bikes.
Okay, good. So I was gonna say 6 people on one bike. That'd be amazing, like an inverted triangle.
Well,
just
like,
Well, it's a
in
clown
the
car
air.
for bicycles.
In the like the pair the pair events. I mean, you'll have it where one rider can kind of like ditch their bike and then be on the other rider's shoulders as the other one's like doing,
What?
standing on the handlebars, and the other person's standing on top of them in 40 feet in the air. Therefore,
Did this start with like Russian gymnastics? It's not uncommon in like Russia to hear about, oh, look, here's a bear that rides a bike. I feel like this all comes from that strange place. I mean, you can dismount one bike and then end up on the shoulders of someone else on a bicycle?
I can't,
Oh,
but
okay.
but people can. I've seen it.
Oh. So how do they, is it like artistic program? Is it technical program? Because that's how ice skating, that's what I
It's-
can relate to.
It's really close to that. It's like ballet. They are judged by gracefulness, but yet they still have to be powerful on the bike. There isn't really a set moves that they have to do.
Okay, so no triple lutz, double
They're
axle.
correct.
Right, yeah.
So it's 5 minutes to fit in as many moves as they possibly can.
Oh, it sounds like a street challenge. This brings me back to like when you used to throw the refrigerator box down with the boom
I was
box
just
and,
thinking
like, break
that.
dance. Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people
With
just
your
doing
high
the
tops.
robots.
Used to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, love those 80s.
I kind of want to see that now.
So these bikes, are these just standard road bike, mountain bike, or is this some
No.
type of amalgamation of
They're-
physics again?
I mean, in the world of how how straight with cycle ball bikes and bike polo bikes, they're actually relatively close to a road bike, but you have a very different saddle that has a few different it's got a different ledge to it, so you can
Yeah.
have a nice like foot stomp place to step your foot, and
so it could be flatter on top, so you can.
well, it's
Hold your
flatter
foot
on top,
down.
and then there's a step to it, and so
So
it's like an L-shaped saddle.
How I always look at it is think of a horse saddle
Yep.
and how it kicks up in the back.
Yeah,
that's basically
get
what
your-
You
the
don't get dumped, yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting. And so, what's the gearing like on the bike? What are the wheels like? Is it?
Well, the gearing is the same thing as cycle ball. It is really close to a
Mm-hmm.
1-to-1 because you're looking for just acceleration really fast, but not top speed.
Mhm.
Most of the ones that I've seen are generally around the 700,
Yeah, wheel
Uh,
size.
but some are about the 650.
Well, it seems to me all of these sports really gain from the precision of being fixed gear. So you can make those micro changes with your toes and calves, just real quick making changes.
And there are riders that will just ride on one pedal, so they'll have both legs kind of patched along on one pedal, just moving through the
I'm
strap.
kind of imagining just like a doubles thing where someone jumps off their bike onto the other, and it's just wide pedals. Now they're just like
1,
jumping up
2,
and down,
1,
trying to
2.
do their own pedaling.
Well, the one move that I'm just fascinated with that I will never, ever, ever, ever try is the jump from the saddle to the handlebars.
Mhm. So that's both feet standing on the saddle, and then both feet standing on the handlebar.
Well, balancing.
While
and
balancing.
nothing in between
And-
because it's a jump.
But not just balancing on the bar, your bike is doing like a perfect 10-foot circle or
Yep.
something.
Right.
There's like a very
Yeah.
intended movement of the bike.
Did
Yep.
anyone else just like touch their jaw, just like wondering what it would feel like to have it wired shut for 10 months because you attempted this? Like I would actually not me. Jeremy, if you were to do this, I'd be very worried with
No,
how
I'd be in
you'd
the
end up
hospital
mutilating
instantly.
yourself.
Yeah. No, I'd definitely be in the hospital instantly.
So what countries is this really popular in? Because I'm trying to figure out like,
Same kind of Germanic countries.
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right, so once again in Europe, it's not
Correct.
going to really be a U.S. thing. Now, if I may, gentlemen, I have one more sport I want to share.
Oh, please.
Oh, goodness.
Bike tandem boat racing. I went to Reddit,
Which is the single best front page of the internet.
where there's a subreddit.
With only 40 billion users.
There's a subreddit or sub thread called the Ocho,
The
which is
Ocho.
which is a dodgeball reference of just the most ridiculous sports that exist. And this was on there one day.
Part of Obscure Sports Quarterly.
Exactly.
Well, so just to set this up, though, we talked about the Kieran. We've seen some other things on our track episodes. Is this what we're looking at now, or what do we got?
So what we're looking at now are tandem bicycles or two individual bikes that are sharing, somehow getting the power to a central propeller of either canoes or
you
like
were saying
catamarans.
this
That's
is-
catamarans.
Oh,
That's
these
a
are,
total-
No, these are hydroplanes.
You were
Yeah, but
straight
it's
up.
a catamaran hull, though.
The catamaran hull, but you can
Yeah.
see that it's lifted out of the water
Yeah.
on
You're
blades.
giving us the engineer
GC, I don't know
perspective.
about
Yeah.
you, but I'm already thinking of how to do this in order to make one.
So
So we're racing across Lake Michigan.
I'm thinking.
They look like canoes, but they're a
We have
foot
4
out of
of
the
us.
water.
yeah, so there's
Yeah,
no
hydroplane.
there's no wheels on these. These bikes are mounted directly to the boat hull. I don't know
Yep.
what the proper term is. And these people are wearing normal cycling garb with a life vest.
Do you know what I appreciate
skin
though?
suits.
Look at how aero they're trying to be. The saddle
yeah.
drop between saddle and handlebars. We're talking full TC here. They got like an 8-inch drop. They are super aero.
Well, on top of that, we haven't run the video yet, but just paused. On the tandem, these guys are so close together that if, you know what? Sorry, folks.
Yeah, they're on
If
top
a
of
guy
each
farts, the other guy
I'm
is
just saying, if
breathing
they had a
dirty
bad
air.
lunch, yeah. No, that is the
Well,
human centipede on a
I'm
hydroplane.
already thinking of Gergen Merck against TC and Jeremy.
I'm on the front. I'm on the front.
I like how we got Gergen Merck.
I don't like that idea at all. I've seen your diets.
Well, so,
I treat
that's
my body
true.
like a fast-moving dumpster.
So let's see this video then. Let's kick it on. And why don't you give us some announcing here, Greg?
Jeremy just hit the play button and nothing happened. You got
They are flying.
That is
They're
a good point.
flying.
Well, yeah, it's a hydroplane.
And
I
just
mean,
like TC said, they're out of the water.
so that one's a dual hole cat with both holes out.
Now, in normal boat racing, you're supposed to hold
see,
your
there's
lane.
different
Oh,
guys
there's also
too.
a solo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a solo guy.
Oh,
And
there's
so,
a recumbent.
yeah, so they're supposed to keep a line, but nobody's doing it.
Well,
But
How?
steering's not going to be easy there.
I mean,
Hooray!
the fans are cheering. But I mean, this is ridiculous. Yeah, so the rules for this sport is don't get wet, finish dry, and be the first one across the finish line and you win.
Because if you ain't first, you're last.
And
Like
if you
about
get
it.
wet, then your bike probably capsized or boat
I just
bike?
imagine if they
Bike
slow
boat?
down
Bike
so that
boat.
it's not hoverplaning, does the boat support the weight of the riders
I
and
would.
everything?
I mean, that would be the purpose of a hole.
Yeah, because
Just saying.
there was one that had outriggers on it. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
so
my brain's already starting to work on how to make one of these.
Oh, for the record, we're doing this as a video.
Yeah.
We're going to do it on Chicago
We need to
River
find it in-
without
no,
approval.
No, we're gonna race across Lake Michigan.
I think that's
I
just
think
a
that's too
dangerous
far.
idea, but I'm in.
we've got one problem. Our Garmins don't measure in knots. We're not going to be able to know
Well,
how
so
fast
let's
we're
do this
going.
right now because we're not going to let people down on this one. What are the teams?
He already said it.
We're the
Bergen
werewolves.
Merc.
We're the
Bergen
werewolves.
Mercs, the werewolves.
Werewolves.
Yeah. All right.
And then you and I. I'm a
Are the
front.
crochets.
It's
You
more-
have to be
you're
up
the
front.
more
crochets.
aerodynamic.
Plus, you have the better diet. Just
More
saying.
aerodynamic. We gotta get you a skin suit though.
Oh, thank God it's a podcast and not. Oh, it's going to be on YouTube. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, anyhow,
sorry,
guys,
everyone.
that has been a real quick touch on crazy bike sports. Stay warm, hit those indoor trainers, or get out and do some winter riding. We'll catch you all next episode.
Oh, my friends, that has been another episode of the Crank Revolution podcast. First thing we'd like to say is thank you. Thanks for being our listeners and sharing the show with your friends. Leave us a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts. We love the feedback. You can reach out to us by email at crankrevolutioncycling@gmail.com and find us on Facebook at Crank Revolution Media.